Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Let's talk Jarrell Miller. He stopped Bogdan Dinu inside 4 rounds in the 4th round to win that fight. I uploaded at the end of the fight a little accumulator that I had. Now, if you want to make money gambling, I wouldn't really advise accumulators. Accumulators, you can make big profits, of course, with relatively low wages, and that's what I tend to do. I might put a small bet down on an accumulator just for the fun of it, but really, if you want to be making money consistently, then you go for one selection really and put a greater stake. Obviously, there's a bigger risk when you're doing stuff like that, so bear that in mind always. But I did have a little accumulator this week. I had Maurice Hooker and Salcedo fight not to go the distance. That was 5-2, so that was a 2.5 to 1 essentially. I had it, and it was in an accumulator with Leorega to beat Frankie Gavin in rounds 4 to 6. That was 13 to 5. Miller to win the fight between rounds 4 and 6. That was 11 to 4. And Gabriel Rosado to beat Luis Arias. That was 2 to 1. It was a DMB though, draw no bet. So because that fight was officially given a draw, that selection is actually invalid. So the rest of the bet counts. So I still made a really good profit. I would have made a massive profit if Rosado was given the decision. I heard he got robbed. I haven't seen the fight. Let me know what you think. I mean, I say I heard he got robbed. I've seen about 3 or 4 tweets saying that. I'm not sure. Sometimes when the underdog does particularly well, people assume someone got robbed, but maybe he just did better than people assume. I don't know. So let me know how that went. But the reason I'm telling you this is to let you know that I had Miller to win the fight between rounds and 4. Okay, I'm not surprised. But sorry, between rounds 4 and 6, I'm not surprised. But at the start of the fight, I did explain that Bogdan Dinu is underrated. I said, I'm really looking forward to the fight. He's got a good jab. He's light on his feet for a man of his size with good distance control. And as an Anthony Joshua sparring partner, he's probably durable too. But he's given away a lot of weight, and this might be interesting while it lasts. And that is what happened. However, the durability aspect is perhaps the one bit I got wrong in this particular tweet, I guess. The thing is with a couple of Miller opponents, because let's talk about Jarrell Miller for a minute. He's been outboxed on various occasions, and his approach, kind of like Jarrett Hurd, he's a size guy. He relies on size. That's why he enjoys it more when he's more overweight than normal. He was close to 100 pounds, I believe, heavier than Dinu tonight. Now, Dinu's a 6'5" heavyweight who's not a small man. So if he's outweighing him by 100 pounds, for our British viewers out there, he came in at 22.5 stone. That's ridiculous. That's crazy weight. Now, what he's ultimately aiming to do is to continue to come forward, put you under pressure with his feet, to force you into an area where you're constantly panicking, where you're moving around the ring at a very high tempo. And by doing that, you're wearing yourself out. Now, when he does come in range, he is ripping your body. Now, he's not a big monster puncher, but he has got massive thighs. He's got a background in kickboxing. So what he'll start to do is work on you. He's getting you moving fast anyway, ripping that body. He's looking to wear you down, to then bludgeon you, okay? It's basic. There's not much skill to it, really. He eats a lot of shots. He takes a lot of shots off the arms. His aim, because also if he's stepping after you and he's chasing you, what happens with a lot of fighters, they're not going to plant their feet and throw big punches. Now, on a couple of occasions today, Dinu seemed to actually hurt Miller. He had an effect on Miller. But generally speaking, because you're constantly moving backwards and you're focused on trying to escape, it becomes almost like a habit or almost like a panic when you see this beast of a man constantly walking towards you. So what happens is that you don't plant your feet, and so you're not maximizing your power. So he's able to walk through a lot of shots because there isn't that much on them. Now, in the first round today, we saw Dinu working that body. He was actually going to the body when it was necessary, but usually he was just popping that jab, and he was getting around the ring. And you saw Miller as well on occasion throwing that right hand to the body, trying to slow Dinu down, but he got outworked. Dinu landed a nice flurry. He landed a crisp right hand right at the end of the round, he took that opening round. It was clear what Miller was trying to do, invest to the body for later on. In the second round, though, Coldwell made a very good point, something that I was thinking at the time, that the Dinu, this fight was similar to the Miller-Washington fight, whereby Washington was moving around the ring and boxing Miller. The difference is, though, where it was different to Coldwell's analysis, comparison, is that Dinu wasn't working as hard as Washington. Washington had that thing where he looked panicked. Early in the fight, Dinu didn't look panicked. He was picking up he was very calm under fire, and he was picking up some nice jabs. He was landing check hooks when Miller was trying to up the tempo and come inside. He even targeted the body again. He looked good. The third round was a much better round for Miller. He started to step it up. He started to land to the body a lot more consistently. Dinu continued to land some nice check left hooks. He wasn't in trouble by any means, but you could see that he was starting to work the body, and it looked like, right, let's see now. Something that Paulie Malignaggi often speaks about. Does Dinu have character? We know he can fight. I know that. We could see he's got skills. But does he have the heart, the character? Well, the following round, Dinu got on his bike. He was boxing beautifully again. So it looked like he was about to go 3-1 up. He was landing that jab. He was winning the round quite comfortably. And then a high left hand caught him high upside the head and it dropped him. And from that moment on, Dinu got up. He wasn't right. He got dropped again. And then he didn't seem to want to get up. He was lucid. He was on his knees. He stood up just before 10 knowing he'd get counted out. Okay, an old veteran's trick there where you don't really want to carry on with the fight. The question I have is this. What happens when Miller meets a fighter who is not going to be as panicky when a crisis hits, who's not going to be afraid to plant his feet? So when Miller's trying to walk a guy down, he's going to be eating some real fire. What happens at that point? Because he's not coming in and deflecting shots and blocking shots. He's not coming in with a bounce or a slip in motion. He's not making you miss. He's absorbing the punches that you're throwing and he's walking through them. Yeah, it's fine when you're doing that to guys like Dinu, guys like Washington. Washington's I was about to call him Denzel Washington. Washington is a very talented fighter. There's no doubt about it. But he's not what's the word I'm looking for? He's not a big puncher. He's not someone who under a crisis you rely on to grit his teeth and come through it. His talent, you could argue, perhaps bypasses his hunger, bypasses where he's willing to take this career, And like I said, I'm not questioning his heart compared to the average Joe. Any man that gets in a ring and has a fight has to have a certain element of bravery when it comes to these sorts of things. But comparing him to other world-class fighters, you have to ask whether he's willing to go through hell and back. And you saw that Dinu's not willing to do that. Now, if we're going to look at the heavyweight division, and we're going to talk about the best fighters out there, okay? The guys that Jarrell Miller's talking about, the guys that, who's he going to fight next? Now, I'm not sure if I heard this correctly, but I think I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard him mention David Price. Now, if he's doing that, I think the reason is to try and get himself more known to a British audience. If he goes and knocks out David Price, it's easier to sell the Anthony Joshua fight. Just the same way that Povetkin knocked out Price and, that was on an AJ undercard. The thing is, David Price will plant his feet and will throw punches. He doesn't have the stamina. He also doesn't have a great chin. The question is, does Jarrell Miller have one punch knockout power? So if he can't get him out of one punch and he's trying to wear him down, those first few rounds could be a firefight. And Jarrell Miller eats a lot of shots. I'm not saying he'd lose to Price, but Price by knockout would definitely be a worthwhile hedge. Now, if you look at some of the other guys out there, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury would just keep turning him, dance rings around him, in my opinion, if Fury's still the Fury he was. Anthony Joshua would keep him at, Anthony Joshua would, in my opinion, destroy Jarrell Miller. Deontay Wilder's a bit more of an interesting fight because Wilder's tall and lean, and if you can close that range and keep the pressure up on him and get on the inside and start to lean on him and use that body weight, who knows what could happen? Because Deontay Wilder's going to be like a feather compared to him when they're holding each other. The thing is, rumor has it that Deontay Wilder in sparring knocked Jarrell Miller out and Miller had to go to the hospital. And this was brought up on the Boxing Voice by Deontay Wilder himself. He asked Ness, hey, you saw what happened. You saw what just happened to Miller. He was talking, he got dropped and he got knocked out, I think he said. And Ness didn't say, whoa, he didn't get knocked out. So it was almost like Ness accepted the explanation and Ness was present. So I actually believe this sparring rumor. I have no reason to think that Jarrell Miller has learned anything which would protect him from being able to take that sort of punishment consistently and then to be able to take him out later on down the road. Now, Dazzling Darren Barker, the former fighter, was a commentator tonight, and he said he felt that perhaps Miller could beat Povetkin. I don't think he'd beat Povetkin. Povetkin, listen, he'd have a chance because Povetkin's aging now. So if you can get out the first 6 rounds, who knows, maybe you'd wear Povetkin down. And with the type of fighter that he is, he might be able to affect Povetkin in terms of his stamina. I really doubt it, though. Jarrell Miller's not Anthony Joshua. Jarrell Miller would try and walk him down with his high arms and Povetkin slip shots. He finds beautiful angles for those shots. I believe Povetkin would knock him out. So then you just continue to look down the list and you're looking at all these different fighters and you're wondering, where does it come? Luis Ortiz, he's an aging man. Officially 39 years old. Rumor has it he's a lot older. Is he going to be able to take Ortiz into the trenches and perhaps make stamina work for him? One thing we saw with Ortiz when he hurt Wilder, he was still quite monotonous in the sense that he couldn't up the tempo. It was quite a one-tempo thing. Age has taken a role, but he understands boxing fundamentals. He understands angles, and he can bang. Are you just going to be able to walk down Ortiz? You know, that's a more competitive fight. I'd be interested in watching that based on age. If Ortiz was a younger man, I can't see Miller winning that either. The point I'm making here, when you're starting to go down the list and look at these top heavyweights, I'm not sure where he comes through. Now, Joseph Parker, a mover and a puncher, in theory, would beat up Jarrell Miller. But Parker's another one of those guys where you question the heart, the desire. He didn't really take any risks against Anthony Joshua. Yes, there was a referee that kept breaking them up every time he got on the inside, unfairly, but he wasn't taking risks. Then against Dillian Whyte, he knew he needed the knockout. He knocked Dillian Whyte down in the 12th round. He got up. Did he empty the gun on him? When Whyte was trying to hold him, did you see him panic, trying to pull his arms out, trying to get at this guy? Get off me. I want to take your head off. No, he didn't have that. He was almost content to be held. Is he too nice, Joseph Parker? I don't doubt his ability, but does he have the killer instinct? That might be an interesting fight based on the fact that, you know, Parker might just not have it in him to go to the trenches. Because one thing you have to do with Jarrell Miller, you have to be mentally turned on. You have to be very, very physically fit. You have to know when to plant your feet and when to throw. And you have to be mentally strong as well, because he's going to bring that pressure consistently. The only reason I'm considering that fight a pick-em fight is because of Joseph Parker's mentality. Otherwise, I don't really pick him. I'm sorry. If I'm Jarrell Miller, the fighters that I pursue, let's say I was his promoter, and I'm looking to build a big name before he gets a massive shot at a world title or something to make a lot of money. How do we approach this? I would look at someone like Derek Chisora, particularly if he was to win his rematch against Dillian Whyte. Derek Chisora is also a front foot heavy fighter who relies a lot on body weight, who smother a lot of his own punches, Chisora, and he's trying to lean on you and push you back. He's not going to be able to do that against Jarrell Miller. So that would become a fight of attrition, a fight where, you know, they're smothering each other and body weight plays a big part. Perhaps you could say the same thing about Dillian Whyte. They're two fights that stylistically wouldn't be as bad for Jarrell Miller as some of these other guys that we've mentioned. If he's looking to really get his name out there. But when I look at this list of the top 10, say, heavyweights in the world, it's hard to look to find guys that are well known where you're going to think, yeah, okay, stylistically even, Jarrell Miller's a nightmare for this man. Kubrat Pulev, you could argue, you know, maybe Kubrat Pulev doesn't have that punching power, and, you know, would he be able to keep him off if that high intense pressure's there for 12 rounds? The thing is, Kubrat Pulev's got a lovely jab, and he varies the body very well. One thing I will say about Kubrat Pulev, he's aging as well. He's 39 years old. And additionally to that, he does like to dictate the tempo. If he can be drawn into a higher tempo fight, he might start to look uncomfortable. So there are options for Jarrell Miller, but I have to be honest, I can't see him getting to the top of this game. Let me know what you think. Listen, he's got a lot of charisma. He's a great addition to the heavyweight division based on that. I just don't see this elite level fighter, even though he's got a certain set of weapons, or rather he provides a certain obstacle which makes him a handful for anyone if they're not on their day. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon.